Big news has now arrived on Gunners. You want to know all the details, so follow me until the end of the video. But first, if you are in love with Arsenal, show your love and subscribe to THE channel now and turn on notifications. Here we post daily news and behind the scenes of the biggest club in THE Premier League, Arsenal. Thank you.
The future of Ethan Nwaneri's potential loan move is suddenly uncertain, as Arsenal remain wary of repeating past setbacks caused by injuries. According to recent reports, the club is open to sending the young midfielder out on loan this winter, but the idea raises immediate questions. Nwaneri has become the talk of the moment after a report from the Daily Mail suggested that Arsenal are considering a temporary move for the 18-year-old. Despite his limited minutes this season, the thought of letting him leave, even temporarily, comes with significant doubts. Back in October, Mikel Arteta publicly insisted that Nwaneri would have plenty of opportunities to play, pointing to the fact that the teenager had already been called upon when Martin Odegaard was injured. "I don't know, but I don't work with expectations," Arteta said at the time. "I work with what the players can give in the context of where the team is at that moment." Ethan played 2 Premier League matches early on because Martin was out. He's played in other competitions and he'll play more. Yet the reality has been very different. Nwaneri has logged fewer than 500 minutes this season, appearing in just 5 of Arsenal's 11 Premier League games, none of them as a starter. His only starts came in the 2 EFL Cup wins over Port Vale and Brighton, and in the 3-0 Champions League victory against Slavia Prague. The arrival of Ebereki Eze and the promotion of Max Daumann have tightened competition even further. And despite injuries to Odegaard, Bukayo Saka, and Noni Madueke, Nwaneri's pathway has only narrowed. It's easy to forget how young he still is. At 18, and having first debuted at just 15, like Daumann, these are formative years where consistent playing time is crucial. The busy festive period could open that door, but with Odegaard, Madueke, and Kai Havertz all nearing their returns, there's a real chance Nwaneri could slide even further down the pecking order. This is why a January loan sounds logical on paper, but it also sets off alarm bells. Arsenal's season has already been shaped by injuries for the second year in a row, and squad depth has never felt more essential. A single setback among the attacking players over the holiday fixture run could thrust Nwaneri back into an important role almost overnight. The more sensible approach may be to reassess in the summer, once the squad naturally reshapes and the club have a clearer picture of their needs heading into 2025. Only then would a loan feel more secure, ensuring Nwaneri actually gets the minutes he needs rather than risking another stalled development. Even then, nothing is guaranteed. Supporters will remember Serge Gnabry's loan to West Brom, intended to push him closer to first-team football, but ultimately a move that derailed his progress before he rebuilt his career in Germany. Arsenal's recent history with loans has been mixed at best, and too often unsuccessful. For now, the club must weigh the immediate needs of the squad against the long-term growth of one of their brightest prospects. Whether a loan becomes the right option, or another cautionary tale, remains to be seen. But the complexity of Nwaneri's situation extends beyond simply playing time and squad depth. Inside the club, there is an ongoing debate about how quickly young talents should be exposed to the pressures of elite-level football. Some staff members argue that Nwaneri's technical level is already above many players his age and that keeping him close to Arteta's structure will accelerate his development. Others believe that without consistent starts, and without a clear pathway to earn them, his progress could plateau. The uncertainty has also stirred conversation among supporters and pundits. Several former Arsenal players have expressed concern that the club may be repeating old patterns, where promising youngsters become trapped between first-team aspirations and inconsistent minutes. Others, however, believe the club is being careful for the right reasons, protecting a player who still needs physical development before facing the demands of weekly Premier League battles. This internal and external pressure has placed added scrutiny on Arteta's handling of young talents this season. While he has been praised for trusting academy graduates in the past, the balance has become harder to maintain now that Arsenal are competing on multiple fronts and aiming for silverware. Every decision carries weight. Resting senior players risks losing points, while overusing inexperienced teenagers risks injury or decline in confidence. There is also the broader question of what kind of loan would actually benefit Nwaneri, should the club eventually decide to pursue one. A move to a Premier League side fighting relegation could offer minutes, but expose him to a demanding environment that prioritizes survival over development. A championship loan, on the other hand, might provide consistent matches, but at the cost of adjusting to a more physical style that does not always align with Arsenal's tactical identity. European options have been mentioned as well, though not confirmed. The possibility of joining a club in the Netherlands or Germany, leagues known for nurturing young talent, has been discussed quietly among observers. Yet Arsenal are hesitant, given how unpredictable such moves can be and how often they fail to produce the expected results. Meanwhile, Nwaneri himself remains focused and professional, according to those around the training ground. He is said to be eager for opportunities, but not frustrated or discouraged. The coaching staff admire his attitude, which only complicates the decision further. He is doing everything right, and still his future remains uncertain. As Arsenal approach the January window, the club finds itself at a crossroads. The next few weeks will likely be decisive, not just for Nwaneri's short-term career, but for how Arsenal choose to manage their most gifted prospects in an era of high expectations and relentless schedules. Any decision made now will be examined closely, not only because of what it means for Nwaneri, but because it will signal how the club intends to balance ambition with development as they move into the next phase of Arteta's project. Arsenal now face a difficult setback. Hincapié may have to step into the North London derby under less than ideal circumstances after Gabriel's injury blow. The club is hoping that Hincapié's long late return trip to North London won't affect his readiness to replace Gabriel against Tottenham, because losing the Brazilian for such a crucial match is a major hit to Mikel Arteta's plans. Arsenal have already been forced to cope with key absences at various stages of the season, but Gabriel missing the derby presents a challenge of a very different magnitude. Naturally, the focus shifts to who will fill the gap on the left side of Arsenal's defense, and for many, the most logical answer is Hincapié. The summer signing impressed during his only start for the club so far, an outstanding display at left centre-back in the League Cup win over Brighton. That night, he partnered with Christian Mosquera, who is also an option for Arteta on Sunday. One possible configuration would see William Saliba move to the left, with Mosquera taking his place on the right, depending on how heavily Hincapié's international travel weighs on Arteta's decision. And that travel is far from insignificant. The Ecuadorian defender is currently away with his national team. He captained Ecuador during their 0-0 draw with Canada, helping secure the clean sheet. But the real concern comes with his final international fixture. Ecuador face New Zealand in New Jersey in the early hours of Wednesday morning, UK time. The match kicks off at 1:30 a.m. and is expected to finish around 4 a.m. Only after that will Hincapié board his flight back to England, meaning he won't arrive in London until Wednesday afternoon at the earliest. From there, he will have just a handful of days to recover, settle back in, and prepare for one of the most intense fixtures of the season. The slight silver lining is that the derby falls late in the weekend, giving him as much time as possible to reintegrate. Still, the timing of his return is far from ideal and adds yet another layer of uncertainty to Arsenal's defensive preparations ahead of a match that could define their momentum for weeks to come. Beyond the logistical headache, Arteta and his staff must also consider the physical and tactical demands that a North London derby imposes. It is not the sort of match where a defender can arrive underprepared, particularly against a Tottenham side that has looked sharp in attack this season. Any hesitation, any lapse in intensity caused by travel fatigue, could be costly. Inside Arsenal, there is a quiet concern that the club may once again be walking a tightrope with its defensive depth. Over the past 2 seasons, injuries at the back have forced Arteta into uncomfortable choices, and Gabriel's setback reopens a conversation that the club hoped was behind them. The manager has repeatedly emphasized the importance of continuity across the defensive line, especially given how central the high defensive line and controlled build-up are to Arsenal's identity. Gabriel and Saliba have been at the core of that stability, and disrupting it inevitably changes the team's rhythm. Analysts close to the club have noted that Hincapié's profile fits the role well, confident under pressure, quick across the ground, and capable of progressing the ball with either foot. However, they also caution that he is still adapting to the Premier League's pace and physicality. Throwing him straight into a derby environment may accelerate his integration, but it also carries risk. Supporters have expressed mixed reactions as well. Many are eager to see Hincapié given a real opportunity, believing his style suits Arsenal's long-term plans. Others worry that asking him to deliver immediately, under difficult circumstances, could place unnecessary pressure on a player still in the early stages of adjusting to English football. The timing of Gabriel's injury also complicates Arsenal's broader goals. With a congested winter schedule approaching and the title race tightening, every match takes on heightened importance. Dropping points against Tottenham could shift momentum, not just in the standings but in confidence across the squad. It also forces Arteta to rethink how he manages minutes for defenders who have already logged heavy workloads this season. Club insiders say the staff have been preparing contingency plans for weeks, anticipating scenarios where international duties and injuries overlap. Yet even the best planning can be stretched thin when travel delays and late-night kickoffs are added to the equation. In the coming days, the medical and performance teams will conduct assessments to determine exactly how ready Hincapié is for Sunday's showdown. Arteta is expected to make a late decision, balancing long-term health with short-term necessity. The hope is that the Ecuadorian arrives in good condition, responds well to training, and can at least offer a reliable solution in Gabriel's absence. What remains undeniable is that Arsenal enter the derby under a new layer of pressure, forced to adapt, to trust their depth, and to test the resilience that has been a defining theme of their season so far. Arsenal have finally been given a clearer timeline on Gabriel Magalhaes' injury, just as Mikel Arteta's concern over the defender's thigh problem continues to grow. The Brazilian centre-back is expected to be out for an extended spell after picking up an injury during the November international break. Early indications inside the club suggest that Gabriel could miss action until January. The alarm was raised when he was seen limping heavily during Brazil's match against Senegal on Saturday afternoon. Over the past few seasons, Gabriel and William Saliba have evolved into one of the most dominant centre-back pairings in English football. Their understanding, consistency, and physical presence have been key to Arsenal conceding only 5 Premier League goals so far, helping Arteta's side open up a 4-point lead at the top of the table. Many view their partnership as the strongest in the league, a foundation on which Arsenal have built their push for a first Premier League title since 2004. But that defensive stability is now under real threat. According to BBC Sport, the initial assessments indicate that the 27-year-old will miss at least 4 weeks, with growing fears that his absence could stretch well into January. The exact severity of the injury and the expected recovery period should become clearer in the coming days. For now, Gabriel is undergoing further tests, but he is already certain to miss Sunday's North London derby against Tottenham, along with several key matches heading into 2025. His reaction after being forced off against Senegal captured the emotional weight of the moment. As he walked off the pitch, he pulled his shirt over his face in frustration. Brazil manager Carlo Ancelotti initially believed the issue was an adductor strain, but medical scans later confirmed it was actually a knee injury. The setback adds to Arsenal's growing list of defensive concerns, especially after Riccardo Calafiori was also forced to cut short his international duty with Italy and return to London. Reports from Italy have confirmed that Calafiori left the national team camp on Saturday, ruling him out of their 2026 World Cup qualifier against Norway. He has already returned to London, where Arsenal's medical department will carry out their own assessment. Italy boss Gennaro Gattuso explained, "He tried to make himself available, but he can't push it right now," referring to Calafiori's inability to play through the issue. Arsenal staff have been notified of his return, and the club does not expect the injury to be serious. Elsewhere, Norway manager Ståle Solbakken has stated that Arsenal captain Martin Odegaard is still far away from returning to the pitch. Gabriel Jesus is expected to be back before the new year following his ACL reconstruction in late January. Meanwhile, Victor Gyökeres and Gabriel Martinelli are also working their way back from thigh and groin injuries suffered before the November break. Despite all the injury setbacks, Arteta's side have maintained an impressive start to the season, with 8 wins, 2 draws, and just 1 loss in the Premier League. Their only defeat came at Anfield, where a second-half free kick from Dominik Szoboszlai made the difference. Gabriel's injury has inevitably sparked discussion inside the club about how Arsenal will adapt during his absence. Arteta and his coaching staff are already reviewing defensive options, aware that the team cannot afford to lose momentum during one of the busiest stretches of the season. Jakub Kiwior is expected to step in more frequently, while the possibility of shifting Ben White into a central role has also been quietly considered. Though White has primarily been used as a right-back in Arteta's current system, his experience as a centre-half gives the manager a flexible alternative as he assesses the squad's immediate needs. Training sessions in recent days have reflected this shift, with a renewed emphasis on defensive structure and coordinated movement, a recognition that Gabriel's absence removes both a physical presence and a vocal organizer from the backline. Coaches have been working closely with the remaining defenders to tighten spacing, improve transitional awareness, and maintain the consistency that has been a defining characteristic of Arsenal's season so far. Beyond the tactical adjustments, Gabriel's injury has prompted wider debate among analysts and supporters. Many have pointed out that Arsenal faced a similar situation last season, when injuries to key defenders disrupted their rhythm during the title run-in. Pundits have warned that the team must manage this moment with greater caution, particularly with crucial fixtures against top 6 opponents approaching. Others argue that the squad is better equipped than in previous years, citing the increased depth and the overall maturity of the group. Internationally, the conversation has also touched on the demands placed on players during the calendar year. Several commentators have questioned whether the heavy schedule, combined with long flights and intense matches during international breaks, has contributed to a growing number of injuries across major clubs. Gabriel's case has become part of this broader discussion, raising questions about workload, recovery time, and communication between national teams and clubs. Inside the Arsenal camp, the focus remains on maintaining stability. Arteta has encouraged his players to approach the coming weeks with clarity and calm, reinforcing that setbacks are part of a long season. Senior figures within the dressing room, including Saliba and Rice, have been particularly active in keeping the group united and focused on performance rather than circumstances outside their control. Meanwhile, supporters have expressed both concern and confidence in equal measure. While many worry about the impact of losing such an influential defender, there is also a belief that the squad has demonstrated enough resilience this season to push through difficult stretches. The atmosphere around the club remains optimistic, even with the uncertainty surrounding Gabriel's return. Arsenal are expected to provide another medical update soon, once the final stages of Gabriel's assessment are complete. Until then, the team must prepare for a demanding run of fixtures without one of their most dependable players. Their response, both tactically and mentally, will likely shape how their title ambitions evolve over the next several months. Ethan Nwaneri's potential loan move is now in doubt, as Arsenal weigh whether sending him out could expose them to yet another injury-related setback. According to new reports, the club is open to the idea of loaning the teenager in January, but the situation is far more complicated than it appears. Nwaneri has been one of the most talked-about prospects at Arsenal this season. The Mail reports that the 18-year-old could leave on loan this winter, but the idea raises several immediate concerns. Although his playing time has dipped, allowing him to leave, even temporarily, comes with significant risks for a squad that has already endured another year plagued by injuries. Back in October, Mikel Arteta insisted that Nwaneri would have plenty of chances to play, pointing out that the youngster had already stepped in during Martin Odegaard's injury spell. "I don't work based on expectations," Arteta said. "I work with what the players can offer within the context of the team at that moment." Ethan played 2 Premier League matches early in the season because Martin was injured. He has played in other competitions and he will play more. Despite those assurances, Nwaneri has logged fewer than 500 minutes this season. He is featured in 5 of Arsenal's 11 Premier League matches, none of them as a starter, and his only starts came in the Carabao Cup wins over Port Vale and Brighton, as well as the 3-0 Champions League victory over Slavia Prague. His opportunities have been further limited by the arrival of Ebereki Eze and the rapid rise of Max Daumann, who has jumped into the first-team picture despite injuries to Odegaard, Bukayo Saka, and Noni Madueke throughout the campaign. And while it's easy to forget just how young Nwaneri still is, just 18, having debuted at 15, this is exactly the age when consistent minutes are vital for development. So far, those minutes have been hard to come by. The upcoming festive period could increase his involvement, but with Odegaard, Madueke, and Kai Havertz all nearing their returns, Nwaneri may find himself pushed even further down the depth chart. That reality is why a January loan is being discussed, but also why it remains such a contentious idea. Arsenal have suffered heavy injury blows for the second consecutive season, and squad depth has proven absolutely essential. One more injury in the attacking midfield line during the congested Christmas stretch could immediately pull Nwaneri back into a larger role. For that reason, some within the club believe the wiser approach would be to reassess the situation in the summer, after a light squad reshuffle, before considering a loan that guarantees him the minutes he needs. Even then, nothing is certain. Supporters haven't forgotten Arsenal's ill-fated decision to loan Serge Gnabry to West Bromwich Albion, widely seen at the time as a chance for him to mature into the player he would eventually become at Bayern Munich. That move turned into a cautionary tale. Not every loan benefits the player, and in recent years, Arsenal's success rate with such deals has been mixed at best. With all of this in mind, the question remains whether loaning Nwaneri this winter would truly serve his development, or simply expose Arsenal to more vulnerability at a time when depth has never been more crucial. As discussions continue inside the club, Arsenal staff are weighing not only Nwaneri's development but also the broader implications for the squad. Several figures within the academy and first-team setup believe the midfielder is entering a crucial stage of his growth, one that requires a delicate balance between patience and consistent competitive exposure. They are aware that too little football at this age can slow a player's trajectory, yet a poorly chosen loan could be equally damaging. The uncertainty surrounding Arsenal's injury situation only complicates the decision further. With the team competing across multiple fronts and still recovering from a series of fitness setbacks, the margin for error has narrowed. Arteta has frequently emphasized the importance of versatility and readiness, qualities that Nwaneri has shown in training. Coaches have privately noted his maturity, professionalism, and willingness to adapt to different roles, a key reason the staff remain cautious about sending him away without a guarantee of meaningful minutes. The possibility of a loan has also sparked debate among analysts and supporters. Some argue that a spell elsewhere could accelerate his development, especially if he lands at a club willing to trust him as a regular starter. Others warn that Arsenal have been burned before, particularly with young creative talents who were sent on loans that failed to match their playing style or physical needs. The memory of Gnabry's stint at West Brom remains a frequent point of reference in fan conversations, a reminder that even high-potential players can stagnate in environments that don't suit them. From a tactical standpoint, Arteta's evolving system further complicates the picture. With the arrival of Ease, the emergence of Dauman, and the expected returns of Odegaard and Havertz, competition in the advanced midfield and wide attacking roles is fierce. Yet Arteta is known for rotating aggressively during packed portions of the schedule, and those close to the club believe Nwaneri would naturally see more opportunities between December and February, especially if Arsenal progress deeper into cup competitions. Meanwhile, the January window presents its own challenges. Suitable loan options are limited, and several Championship and mid-table Premier League clubs have expressed interest, though none can currently guarantee the playing time Arsenal want. The club's recruitment and development departments are therefore assessing each potential destination carefully, looking beyond prestige and focusing on the consistency of the manager's philosophy, the team's tactical structure, and the likelihood of Nwaneri being entrusted with key minutes. Inside the dressing room, the young midfielder remains calm about his situation. Those who know him well describe him as grounded and focused, determined to improve regardless of where he plays. Staff members have praised his attitude in training and his ability to learn quickly from senior players, many of whom have become informal mentors. His professionalism has convinced several coaches that even if he stays and receives limited minutes, he can still contribute in meaningful ways during periods of rotation or injury. In the coming weeks, Arsenal will need to decide whether maintaining depth takes priority over long-term development or whether the risk of losing a talented young player to stagnation outweighs the immediate needs of the squad. The club's decision will likely depend on the team's injury situation entering January and the quality of the loan proposals available. What remains clear is that Arsenal view Nwaneri as a long-term asset, not a short-term convenience. Whether he stays in North London or spends the second half of the season elsewhere, his future remains a central consideration in the club's evolving plans.